Yo, what's going on, guys? How's it going? This is Commerce64 back with another video, and for today's video, I'm gonna be talking about an upcoming death battle match that's coming up soon. That I think that apparently I think is basically a matchup that is basically not even a close matchup, and a matchup I think that's probably is a bit not really one that's really needed or whatever, but if they do when this matchup does happen, it's like okay, whatever, cool. But I'm gonna talk about why this is a matchup that isn't even close and kind of isn't much of a fair comparison. Honestly, I mean, sure, these characters do have some similarities, but the comparison between them is just doesn't seem but to be. But well, I'm just kind of saying comparisons don't seem to match up all that well, but also because one character can easily overpower the other. Just the way how I see it. And that is for the next death battle. There's going to be a matchup between Cell from the Dragon Ball franchise and Metal Sonic from the Sonic franchise. So apparently, it's been confirmed that that's going to be the next death battle. After the Yusuke versus Ichigo death battle, which I thought was a great match and a great battle. And those two characters do have many similarities. Both of them are teenagers who become who become these somewhat heroes who work for a private work for a supernatural investigation, and they deal with new supernatural stuff. They have allies and friends along the way. They get into fights and such. Fights, and both of them are basically those shonen protagonists that are not like all those other shonen protagonists like Goku, Naruto, Luffy, Naruto, and them even like Gon and Toriko going like Happy Go Lucky and all that stuff. And yeah, we get a lot of those enemy protagonists, but Yusuke and Ichigo are not even like that. Even Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and even Kinshiro from Fist of North Star, and I guess maybe Seiya from Saint Seiya. Yeah. So yeah, Yusuke and Ichigo are pretty much they do have many similarities. So and that is a great matchup between those two. And I think a lot of people have been wanting to see a matchup between those two for years. I mean, sure, we can always do matchups between those two characters in the Shonen Jump crossover games, but apparently, seeing an actual match between those two, like in Death Battle, was pretty sick. It's kind of cool that Death Battle is going to bigger lengths to do different types of death battles instead of and doing different types of characters, especially ones that haven't been appeared in Death Battle yet, instead of bringing back characters who already been in one, like Dante from Devil May Cry, and Omni Man, and a couple others. I think Sonic, yeah, I don't know. But speaking of Sonic, well, we can get to the meat grid of the video. Metal Sonic and Cell has been confirmed to be the next Death Battle match in Death Battle. Now, I'm here to talk about why I don't think this is pretty much of a good matchup, and why, but mostly why it's basically not even close. Because spoiler alert, I'm gonna get to the point. You know, Here's the thing. It's pretty obvious, but this is the way I look at it. It's pretty obvious that Cell is obviously going to be the winner, obviously, for sure. You know, if you look at both characters' feats, you know, here's the thing. Cell is pretty much almost Cell is so powerful to the point where he can pretty much just destroy an entire planet, basically, like all the other Dragon Ball characters. Metal Sonic, I don't know. I don't think he's really that powerful. Powerful. He's powerful enough to destroy an entire planet. Maybe there's probably some other stuff about Metal Sonic that I'm probably missing, but I think with seeing Cell, because I am familiar with both franchises, obviously. Yeah, because Cell, I have seen the Cell saga a couple times, many times. All Dragon Ball, I revisit certain Dragon Ball once in a while, and see. I know everything about the Dragon Ball mythos, Dragon Ball universe, the ins and out, everything, how everything playing out, not just by how I used to watch the show, but also because seeing watching other people's YouTube videos and such, and the conflicts, how the storyline gets recycled a lot in the Dragon Ball games and such. I know the ins and out of anything Dragon Ball related. I grew up with Dragon Ball, obviously, and like Cell, Cell is pretty much very powerful. I mean, Cell is powerful to the point, well, like the point where he can use destroy a planet. And also thing is Cell, he has the cells of almost all the fighters in the franchise. Everyone before the Cell Saga, he has the cells of Goku, Vegeta, uh Gohan, Piccolo. He has Piccolo's regenerating ability. He has the cells of Freezer and King Cold when they came to Earth. And I think he has the cells of Nappa as well. And some of the other sea fighters, Krillin, Tien, and Yamcha. Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he does have Tien because he did a Tien solar flare. You know the Kamehameha. Cell, because Cell has all the cells of all the characters in the franchise. Not all the characters. I mean, all the characters who were at that point. Now he could have probably had future Trunks cells, but they decided they already had enough cells enough already. I mean, Cell, so in Cell, he's pretty much like, I think Cell is probably one of my favorite villains in the franchise. You know, he seems to be very different from compared to some of the villains, at least in my opinion. Sure, he does have that cocky and arrogant persona, mostly especially when once he becomes his perfect form. You know, yeah, I kind of pissed me. I'm Part of me is kind of pissed off what he did to 17 and 18, honestly. And also Android 16 as well. But I kind of. I'm glad. Good thing, but good thing Gohan pretty much kicked his ass, like killed him, and he got owned by Pycon in other world along with Freezer, King Cold, and all so and the rest of them. So yeah, but Cell, he is an interesting villain, an interesting character, and his design is pretty much unique. Is pretty much unique. I remember fighting against him in Budokai 3 on Goku story mode, and I was having a hard time beating him. He was getting on my nerves. I was like, God, man, I freaking hate Cell, man. He always beats me. And Cell, and Cell, he is kind of an asshole, but I think he's kind of somewhat of a likable asshole. He's kind of that kind of asshole that's somewhat likable and has some kind of charm to him. That villain is somewhat likable and has some kind of charm. And so yeah, and Cell, he's basically powerful. And to be honest, since that Cell has the cell of some of the Saiyans like Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan too, I believe, he pretty much kind of now has a possibility to get even stronger. You know, he has Saiyan cells in him. He could probably get even stronger. And I guess kind of like similar how Frieza kind of got stronger, like when he was revived in Resurrection F and in Dragon Ball Super, and achieving Golden Freezer, his golden form, and apparently now he has a black form, Black Freezer, in the Dragon Ball Super manga. So yeah, and Cell can even get even more stronger. Now for Metal Sonic, the thing is with Metal Sonic, I know obviously Metal Sonic, I guess he does have some similarities with Cell in a way. Both of them are basically creations from another character, but I think they both had different structures in a way. Cell was basically created as like an ultimate android, and he just happens to have the cells of other characters in him, adding to making him more powerful. And Metal Sonic, he's pretty much basically supposed to be an evil doppelganger of Sonic. He's like Sonic, a metal version of Sonic. Now, does he possess Sonic abilities? I think he does. Now, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Despite the fact that I am a huge Sonic fan, I played a couple of the games, but Metal Sonic, I barely know too much about him. I kind of knew like I only know like the bare minimum of him. I don't know other stuff about like what other things he can do. I mean, like I know that he's basically a copy, like it. He is a middle version of Sonic, and he possibly also has some of Sonic's abilities, like Sonic speed and such. But you know, and that's pretty much about it. And yeah, yeah, of course, there's also Neo Metal Sonic from Sonic Heroes. You know, I think it is. Yeah, it's still Metal Sonic, but like a more powerful version. I mean, personally, guys, because let's be honest, guys, we can just assume that Cell is obviously going to be the winner here, honestly, because compared to other stuff that Cell can do, like Cell can pretty much again, like I said, easily blow up the planet, and I think which Rizzy was apparently his attention, like maybe after he won the Cell games, you know, and then he would have like maybe terrorized the universe and such. We don't know. And Cell, and he didn't also Cell when he was about to blow up the planet, and when he was in his semi-perfect form, after he spit out Android 18, thank God, that's good. Android 18 safe. And then when he was about to blow himself up, Goku pretty much teleported him to King Kai's planet, and well, which was a dickish move. Goku, shame on you. Shame that you did that to King Kai, and I don't really blame King Kai for hating Goku ever since then. That is a fucked up thing to do, messed up thing to do. Excuse my language. And Cell, but the thing about that is that Cell actually survived, and he came back to Earth, and he copied Goku's new abilities. You know his instant transmission. So Cell pretty much kind of came back basically, and so Cell is so I guess this shows that Cell is able to even copy even more cells from cells. And at that point, Goku was probably was more stronger than he was back when Goku cells were added into Cell. Earlier, like the Saiyan saga. The Saiyan saga. And I think the Saiyan saga. And because during the fight with the Cell game, like while the characters were preparing for the Cell games, Goku then got even more stronger, and because since he already learned the transmission when he came back to Earth, you know, you know, and Cell pretty much was able to like, and when Goku teleported Cell to King Kai's planet, Cell was able to capture some some Goku's newfound abilities while he was training, preparing for the Cell games, Cell tournament. So I guess this shows that Cell can even capture more cells or something. At least that's what I think. But I think you mentioned like he has like some kind of nucleus, that thing in him, that black thing between his that green somewhat hat thing on top of him that he has. Yeah, those fishy things, those long things. Yeah, I wondered, is that like some kind of hat or something? Can you take that off? Uh, Devil Artemis pretty much did something like that. And also, speaking of Devil Artemis, awesome YouTube channel. Definitely check it out. But very hilarious too. And I just love the crossovers, the random characters that they put in. But overall, Cell, he's pretty much this. There's pretty much just no contest between him and Metal Sonic. Now can Metal Sonic copy more abilities from Sonic? Maybe, I guess maybe if they can download some kind of code or something. I don't know. Like I do kind of wonder how did Doctor Eggman got created Metal Sonic got to add Sonic's abilities into Metal Sonic. Maybe he probably must copy them or something. Like in the Sonic OVA, you know, I used to just show how Metal Sonic was made. And the thing is, like Metal Sonic. I think I don't know what are abilities that he can do aside from doing what Sonic can do. I mean, sure he can fly and do other stuff, but compared to what Cell can do, like Cell can pretty much like doing like shoot Kai Plats and stuff like that. Now, here's the thing that I always wondered. Like, I always thought that, Dragon Ball characters were just infinitely just overpowered, infinitely powerful. Like it's always it's just easy for them to like just defeat, beat up, defeat like or just kill like obliterate another character from another universe just like that with no problem. Like for example, like can they like overpower like characters from Street Fighter? Yeah. Characters from Mortal Kombat? Yes. Characters from Tekken? Yes. Like if Goku wasn't a fight against Ryu from Street Fighter, Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, or Heihachi from Tekken, Goku will obviously, if those four got in a brawl, Goku will obviously win because he can pretty much just vaporize, just like turn Super Saiyan and just Kamehameha them, all three of them into oblivion or something. Even like other characters like Nightmare from Soul Calibur or Terry Bogard from uh Fatal Fury / King of Fighters. You know Goku can pretty much overpower all those characters, like and like even other characters, like fighting game characters, like characters from Virtual Fighter or They're Alive. Oh, the point is, I just think Dragon Ball characters are just infinitely powerful, and they can like easily just defeat characters from other universes. Like Vegeta can pretty much kind of like he can probably just easily solo the Marvel universe. I mean, the closest character that could probably put up a fight against Vegeta will probably be Century. But even then, Vegeta could probably even handle him. You know, you know, Gohan and Piccolo can easily own the DC universe or something. And even like the Invincible, or like Frieza can defeat the Invincible universe. Dragon Ball characters, they probably can. I mean, if you, I mean, they had Bardock go up against Omni Man in Death Battle. Not gonna spoil it, but but I'm sorry. Well, spoiler alert: in Bardock versus Omni Man, which is Omni Man's second appearance in Death Battle, Omni Man pretty much won. But I think Bardock could have easily won, honestly, in a way. And like, yeah, Death Battle done always surrounds with doing good research and doing good matchups. I mean, having Superman beat Goku like twice in a row, and Kirby beat Majin Buu, and all that such. The Vegeta versus Thor fight. I think I saw that one, but I forgot how it ended. So, but our point is, it does feel like that Dragon Ball characters can easily own characters from other universes. Like, I think Tien can pretty much solo any of the Marvel characters. I think Yamcha can solo any of the Marvel characters. I think Yamcha can probably solo the Hulk, obviously. Even Yamcha, you know? And also, like, I think Krillin can even solo the DC universe, honestly. I think Krillin can probably solo Superman, maybe. You know, you know, Dragon Ball characters and like even anime characters from other universe, like I think Dragon Ball characters can easily overpower Naruto characters or One Piece characters or Yu Hakusho characters or Bleach characters. Bleach characters or Yu Hakusho characters or even My Hero characters. Because Dragon Ball characters, but that's just the way I look at it because seeing how Dragon Ball characters, how they have Kai powers, Zenkai boosts, all that stuff, they can power up, they can get even stronger. They're all able, almost every character in that universe, in Dragon Ball universe, are able to shoot Kai blasts, beams out of their hands, the and also many attacks like the Kamehameha, the Gallic Gun, Final Flash, Big Bang Attack, uh, you know, Maziko, Special Beam Cannon, Death Beam, and all that stuff. And Goku, they can use like ultimate attack like the Spirit Bomb or the Death Ball or anything. So it's obvious that Dragon Ball characters can probably solo other characters from other universes. I just think they're just infinitely powerful. That's just the way I see them. You know, I mean, Lord Beerus can pretty much destroy any character from another universe, or even Omni King. Or so Dragon Ball characters are just freaking powerful. They're like crazy, insanely powerful. So I mean, the only other anime characters I think that could probably beat them or probably own them or be on par with them will probably be like maybe the Saint Seiya characters, from Saint Seiya, or the Sailor Moon characters from Sailor Moon. I think the Sailor Moon characters could probably be on par with them. We got to see that female Sailor Moon villain, I forgot her name, Glackula, something like that, go up against Beerus, Lord Beerus in Death Battle, and Lord Beerus ended up being a winner. Sorry, spoiler alert. Sorry, but some of those Death Battles have kind of been around for a while, so I think some people probably seen them. But that Death Battle was actually removed because it was too anime, and they put it on their website. I don't know if they're gonna upload it again or something. But I do remember on the Yusuke versus Ichigo video, they mentioned that they just like some kind of thing. I forgot what it was, where you can watch again or something, or some death battles are removed. I'm gonna check it out again to see what it was. Yeah, my bad. Memories get a bit fuzzy sometimes. So yeah, I guess like the Saint Seiya characters and the Sailor Moon characters, they probably be on par with the Dragon Ball characters or even beat them, because with the Saint Seiya characters, their power, they have the power of the cosmics and cosmos and the aura, so that probably could put them on par with the Dragon Ball characters. Like the villain Hades could probably be on par with the Dragon Ball characters. Yeah. So Dragon Ball characters, but other than that, Dragon Ball characters are just infinitely freaking crazy powerful. And they can power up and do all this stuff. Something like that. And like the sun, and like so they could easily overpower characters from other universe. You know, the Sonic the Hedgehog characters. I don't know if I want to say they're infinitely that powerful, crazy powerful. I mean, sure, let's say they get like the power, they get like the Chaos Emeralds to gain like a super form. That could probably put them somewhat on par with the Dragon Ball characters, but even then, I'm pretty sure the Dragon Ball characters could probably overpower them. Like, I'm pretty sure Super Sonic could probably be on par with Super Saiyan Goku, but I do think like Super Saiyan Goku probably could still beat him. I mean, Super Saiyan 3 Goku can obviously overpower Super Sonic. You know, unless there are some things that I'm probably missing here, but from what I've seen so far, Dragon Ball characters are just infinitely powerful. So yeah, overall, I don't think Cell versus Metal Sonic is pretty much a fair comparison, honestly, and isn't even close. And honestly, I think maybe each of them probably should have had different Death Battle opponents. Like Cell, you could probably give him someone else aside from instead of just Metal Sonic. I mean, was Miraham from Hunter x Hunter, was he not available? I mean, yeah, I know people compare Miraham to looking like Cell a lot, particularly mostly his first form, and I do think maybe second form too, but mostly his first form, not his perfect form. Last one, he's in perfect form. But Miraham, I do think Miraham was probably inspired by Cell. I could be wrong, but they do seem to have a few similarities, and they even went up against each other in Jump Force. So, well, I do think Miraham from Hunter x Hunter would have been a better matchup for Cell. But even then, Cell could probably easily overpower him as well, honestly. So, but I do think Miraham could probably give Cell a challenge, maybe. I think. Yeah. Miraham has Nin abilities, which is basically Hunter x Hunter's version of Kai Power, Zenkai Boost, something like that. Or Spirit Energy from Yu Yu Hakusho, and Bankai and Chakra and all that stuff. Gungo powers. All that stuff. Those kind of power ups that anime characters have, that's or Cosmos, like in Saint Seiya, That's just the way I look at it. So I think Merihim probably will be a better matchup, even though Cell could probably easily overpower him. Although I was thinking about maybe Merihim can and be his death battle opponent could probably be Super Scroll from Marvel. Mm. Two green villains, That's just I see it. But and as for Metal Sonic, I think the best, what I think would have been the perfect death battle opponent for him would be another Marvel character, Yeah, spoiler, it's another Marvel character, and that Marvel character is Ultron. Yep. I think Ultron would probably be a better opponent for Metal Sonic because they do have many similarities. Both of them are pretty much like evil robots that were created, and eventually both of them go rogue. I mean, Ultron, yeah, obviously did went rogue. Now you know, Metal Sonic did went rogue in Sonic Heroes and pretty much overthrow Eggman. And apparently, I think maybe in some of the other appearances that he had, they did it, have him go rogue or work for Doctor Eggman. Now we know Metal Sonic is going to have like a pivotal role in the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Please don't call it Sonic CD. Please just don't. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is just fine. Just leave it like that, okay? But yeah, we know Metal Sonic's going to have a prominent role. Basically being one of Doctor Eggman's, working for Doctor Eggman. Now, maybe there might be a possibility, there might be a plot twist where he overthrows Dr. Eggman and becomes the actual final boss. Kind of like how Jerome Wagner was actual final boss in the third movie. I mean, Metal Sonic, we got to see versions of him in Sonic movie 3. You know, you know, going up attacking Sonic, and then Amy came to his rescue. You know, and if the Sonic movie franchise were to continue, I could probably see Metal Sonic as being like the new big boss, main villain protagonist. I mean, because Jim Carrey, main villain. Because Jim Carrey, we don't know if he's going to play Doctor Eggman forever. Honestly, that's the thing. And I don't know if I want to say Jim Carrey's getting up there in age. So, but I do. So, well, it does seem like, and also Metal Sonic and Ultron, they both are pretty much equal doppelgangers. Metal Sonic is the equal doppelganger of Sonic, a metal mechanized mecha version, the doppelganger, evil version, evil counterpart of Sonic. And Ultron, I don't know if you want to say he's an evil version of robotic evil version of Iron Man in a way, but he does seem to do some bit of abilities similar to Iron Man. I mean, he was Iron Man's creation. So yeah, I think Ultron would be a better opponent for Metal Sonic, or even Neo Metal Sonic. If you want to go down that road. Or I guess if you want to make Ultron rivals a Death Battle opponent with Sigma, from the Mega Man X franchise, Mega Man X games, and that's a good matchup as well. And both of them became one in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, the Marvel vs. Capcom game that nobody likes and nobody talks about. So yeah, I do, but I do think Ultron and Metal Sonic would be a better pairing than Cell and Metal Sonic. And Cell, you can either pair him up with Miriam from Hunter x Hunter, or maybe some other character that you probably think can probably match him. But then again, we don't know. I think Miriam's the closest matchup we can do for Cell, unlike other characters. I don't think no other character can be a great matchup for Cell, unless some kind of Naruto character. Speaking of Naruto characters, can Naruto characters overpower Dragon Ball characters? I don't know. I think maybe like characters from the Dragon Ball era, from Dragon Ball. Like I think Naruto, season one Naruto, at the beginning, he can probably overpower Kid Goku, and that's about it. Yeah, again, think about can Dragon Ball characters be overpowered or beaten by characters from the universe? Maybe, I don't know. And heck, like can Lobo from DC stand up against any of the Dragon Ball characters? I know, yeah, he's pretty much unkillable, but in a way, I do think like can Lobo stand up against Cell? Probably not. I think Cell can easily obliterate Lobo, honestly. Even if Lobo still has the power to regenerate, you know. But overall, Cell versus Metal Sonic, I don't look at it as like an even close comparison, even close. And obviously, guys, let's be honest, we all know that Cell's going to win. Now, I'm sorry if it seemed like I went over the place. I was just talking about different things and all that stuff. I was just trying to make examples for both sides why I think Cell is a better, why it can easily win the match. It's just by what he can do alone, all by himself. Such, the all the abilities that Cell has. Like Cell has way seems like he has way more abilities than Metal Sonic does, at least from what I've seen. Like Metal Sonic, I don't think he can shoot Kai Blasts. Can he shoot beans, energy beans, and stuff like that? Maybe I don't know, but obviously, it's quite obvious that Cell is going to be the victor. Honestly, for sure. I just know it. You know, unless it's a death battle where you pull some kind of BS and say and have Metal Sonic be the winner, like they have. I mean, I think they have done for the past couple matches. So yeah. Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, I'm sorry. Apparently, the camera kind of got off because I reached the full limit of recording. So decided had to record like this extra part to like finish it off. Just to end off the video. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think. Do you think I'm right about why Cell and Metal Sonic is not even in even close comparison, close of a matchup? And do you guys think that Cell is easy going to win? And maybe you can also tell me there might be some reasons that why Metal Sonic could probably be the victor, and why maybe I was wrong in some cases and things I said in the video. But you can feel free to let me know in the comment section below and tell me, and we gotta discuss, and so yeah, that's it for this video. Definitely gonna upload it later. Won't be doing no editing or anything, you know. So feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and all that jazz. And I have more videos coming up in the future. And now I'm gonna eat my sandwich. This is Comrade64. Sign out, folks. Good sandwich. Good sub. Later, folks.